once again for Let's Start Cooking. I'm Wayne, and sticking with our slow cooker recipes that we've been doing, we're gonna do another one today, and we're gonna do a really easy bean soup. And it's one pot, everything goes in. So before we get started, I'd like to ask that you please consider subscribing to the channel. It does help us out a lot, and it helps us move up when it comes to the YouTube algorithm. The first thing that we're gonna wanna do is we took one package, which is usually 16 ounces of navy beans. If you don't have navy beans or you can't find them, you can use what they call Great Northern beans. And what we did is we soaked these overnight in just regular plain water. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna drain these and just set them off to the side so we can continue on with the other things that we're doing. But you wanna make sure that you soak these overnight. That way they get nice and plumped up and they soften up for you. So we'll set these to the side, we'll get these drained out, and then we'll continue on with everything else that we're gonna do. While we're draining our beans, what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna get our carrots and our onion, and we're gonna chop this up. And all we really wanna do with this is we wanna dice these up. We don't wanna make them really small because obviously they're gonna go in a soup. And this is gonna cook, depending on the temperature you put it on, anywhere between 5 to 8 hours. So you don't wanna make this too small. So what we're gonna do first is we're just gonna take our onion, we're just gonna cut off the ends. Just get this outer layer off. And again, you can use a yellow onion, you can use a red onion. Just remember that depending on the onion, it's gonna be a stronger flavor. So we're just gonna get this aside. We're gonna cut this in half. And like I said, all you really want to do is you just want to dice this. You don't want to make these too small, because if we make it too small, what's going to happen is they're going to actually just soak up to nothing. So when you're, like I said, just make them half decent size. And depending on how much you like onions, you can add a little, you can add a little bit more, depending on what you want. But this is about what we're looking for, right like that. Make sure we break all this up. And we're just gonna do the other side. And if you like onions, you can put more onions in it. If you don't have to put as many, but we're just gonna use one onion. We're gonna get all that cut up. Now with this, what's nice is since we're doing this all in one pot, we can take this right now as we're doing this, and we can put this right into our slow cooker. Because we don't have to worry about pre-cooking anything. Everything's gonna cook at the same time. Now the only thing that you don't wanna do, we don't want to add the carrots to this right away. We're gonna cut them up. We're gonna keep them in a separate bowl. We'll put them in the refrigerator or whatever, just to keep them for a couple hours. But if you put the carrots in here now, they're gonna get really, really soft to where they're gonna actually start to fall apart. We don't wanna do that. But what we do wanna do is we'll get a couple of these done, and I'll just cut these right down the center. And I cut them again. And again, this depends on the size of the carrot too. I mean, you don't want these too small. And we're just gonna cut these, again, we're just gonna cube these up. And this is all we're gonna do with all these. And you want about 2 cups of carrots for that one onion. But we're just gonna take it right down the center, or as close as you can. I mean, nobody says you have to be perfect. Once we get all these done, we're just gonna set these to the side because like I said, we don't wanna put these in right away. So we'll get all this cut up and we'll put these in a bowl and we'll keep these to the side. Once we have our onions cut, we drained our beans and our carrots are in the refrigerator and they're just chilling out for a little bit. All we're gonna do is we're gonna take our drained beans that we have and we're just gonna add them right back into our pot, right on top of everything. And like I said, this is so easy. And depending, like I said, if you cook this on high, it takes about 5 hours. If you cook this on low, you got 6 to 8 hours, depending on how long you're gonna cook this. So we put the beans back in, and now what we wanna do is we're gonna take 4 cups of chicken broth, and we're just gonna add that right into our soup here. And we're gonna add 1 bay leaf, 2 sprigs of thyme, and if you don't have fresh thyme, it's like $1 something in the store. You can use the thyme in the jars. The only problem is you're gonna have that floating all over. We want this for flavor. We're gonna take this back out. And on top of that, then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take 2 cloves of garlic. And again, with the garlic, we want to make sure this is small enough because this will cook down and it will get soft, but we don't want big chunks of garlic, and we don't want to add too much of it. That's why we're only using 2 cloves, because we don't want garlic to overpower our soup. So we're just going to mince this up just a little bit. We're going to add this right in to our soup. And once we get that done, we have 2 smoked ham hocks. Now, if you don't use ham hocks or you can't find them, these are smoked. So these are already technically pre-cooked. But if you don't have these or you don't find these, you can use just a regular ham steak. Just be careful what you buy, because make sure there's not a lot of salt in it, because it's going to turn this really salty. But all we're going to do with these is we're just going to take these now and lay these right into our soup mixture. Because after 6 to 8 hours, depending on how long you cook this, this is actually going to fall right off the bone. And we're going to take these out, and we're going to pull the meat off of these. But we want the bone marrow and we want the pork to flavor this soup. So we're going to let this cook with them in there just the way they are. And the last thing that we're going to add is we're going to add 4 cups of just plain water to this. And we're just going to put that right in over top of everything. And just give it just a little stir to mix stuff up a little bit. And all we're going to do now, like I said, depending on what setting that you put this on, whether you put this on high or low, high is going to be about 5 hours depending on your slow cooker, and low is going to be 6 to 8 hours, again depending on the slow cooker temperature. But all we want to do is we want to cook this till we start to see this meat falling off the bone. So now all we're going to do is we're going to put this on, and I will see you in about 5 to 6 hours. Okay, we're back. We've had this slow cooking for about 5 hours. We have about an hour to go, but what we want to do now is we want to take the lid off and we want to remove the ham hocks. Now, if you didn't use ham hocks and you used ham steak or even the cubed ham, you don't have to do this point, but what we want to do is we want to take the ham hocks out and we want to strip the meat off the bone now. And while we do that, we're also going to add our carrots and give them about an hour to cook while we do everything else. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove this lid for now. And we're going to take this and just get it out of our way. You can immediately smell the smokiness of that ham. We got to be careful because these are going to be really, really tender. And all we want to do is just move them over to our board. And again, like I said, you don't have to do this part if you used a ham steak. We want to get these off. We're going to be very careful because they are going to be hot. And all we're going to do is we're just going to take them very gently, and as you can see, we're going to take this skin off, and they're just falling right off the bone. And they just peel right off of that skin and that fat. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean these up after we get them off the bone. And they just fall right off. And we're gonna remove the skin. And obviously we're gonna remove the fat off of it. But this is gonna go right back into our soup. And this is why I like to actually use ham hocks, because they're already smoked and they have a beautiful smell and they really, really set off the taste of the soup. So once we get these deboned, now we're just gonna go through, we're just gonna make sure that we don't have any fat or skin left. And we're just gonna take this and we're gonna put it right back into our soup. So all we wanna do now is we just wanna check it and get anything that we don't like. We just remove it. We just want the meat now. And like I said, we're just like you would any other pulled pork, ham, whatever. And you're just gonna take it and you're gonna slowly pull it apart. And we just wanna check it, that's all. You see something you don't like, you just pull it to the side. Once we get this all trimmed up to what we want, we pull the fat or we pull the skin and whatever else you don't want. And again, like I said, if you used a ham steak, you don't have to go through this. I like using the ham hocks because it adds that smoky flavor. And that's what a lot of people associate with bean soup. So now all we're gonna do is just gonna move our pot just a little bit closer. Now before we put this in, you're gonna wanna look for your thyme sprigs. We want to pull them out now. And like I said, if you don't find them right away, it doesn't matter. As you scoop up your soup, as you start to serve it, you'll find them, and it's no big deal. If you find them, you can take them out now. If not, you don't have to worry about it. We know they're in there. We know we'll find them. So what we want to do now is we're going to add our ham back into our soup. And at this point is when we're going to want to add our carrots. And we're going to let this now be on low for about another hour. Because what we want to do now is all we really want to do is just incorporate the flavors. And we want to get these carrots nice and soft. And there's our other sprig. We just want to incorporate everything, get it nice and soft. And if you don't like the consistency, if it's too thin for you, when you're all done and before you serve, you can actually take a spoon, or if you have a potato masher, and you can actually crush up a couple of these beans and it'll thicken your soup up. Or if you went to the other side and you're a little bit too thick, you can add either a little water or you can add a little bit of chicken broth to this and you can thicken this up a little bit. Either way, you can always fix it if you don't like what it came out like. We'll remove our bay leaf. And now we'll put this back on and we're just gonna let this cook for about an hour. Like I said, we just wanna soften up those carrots now. So we'll get this back on low now for about an hour. All right, we are back. We've had this slow cooking for about 6 to 6.5 hours. And like I said, what we did was we put everything in, we let it cook for about 5 hours. We then removed the ham hocks, we've stripped the meat off the bones, put it back in with the carrots, and we let this go for about another hour. And all we're gonna do now is we're gonna take this lid off. And all we have to do now is we're just gonna take a little bit in the bowl, and you can immediately smell the smokiness of the ham. You can smell the onion coming through. But we're just gonna take a little bit of this for now. Feel the heat coming through that bowl. So we'll be careful with this one. This is nice when it's just too cold out. You want something nice, hot, nice, hearty, or even like a day like today where it's not that cold, but you really didn't want to heat the house up. Soup's always good. So now we just gotta wait and hopefully we can cool this down a little bit. can smell the thyme. It was hot. Again, you get the smokiness of the ham. The beans are nice and soft because we left them cook long enough. The carrots got nice and soft. It's not salty because that's the first thing you want to make sure of. Like I said, depending on what ham you use, you're gonna whether you want to put salt in this or not. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll like and share with your friends. And above all, I hope you subscribe to the channel. And all the ingredients will be in our description. So until next week, I hope you have a great day.